So we've got a busy studio here at BBC Radio Leicester. I have two musicians, Will Horspool, known as Poetman, hello, and Tian Mhende, who are part of this year's Project Live training programme run by Too Funky Arts. How you doing, Tian?
I'm alright, you?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Good,
no one ever asked me how I am. Thanks for asking that.
Man, isn't it? Raised with
Very courteous.
Yeah.
So you guys are part of the Project Live training programme. So that's when Too Funky Arts pick 8 singers or rappers from across Leicestershire. They're given support in developing their work, and there is a real variety of styles, isn't there, musically?
Yeah.
This includes recording original tracks in a professional studio, receiving mentoring, and performing in a big showcase. And you guys have just come back from, you were just together
For rehearsal today.
in rehearsal.
And a photo shoot, don't forget that. Makes us sound great.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's been really amazing, the mentoring, getting taught about copyright, marketing. I've just been doing a lot of open mic spots myself, just coming in at it at 30 years old and not really knowing what I was doing, just learning by mistake. So having someone professionally who knows what they're doing has really helped us all out. The rehearsal today was for a group track that we only got the title done on Wednesday, and we've all just gone away and written stuff. This is the first time we put it together with the band to work it into a song, to record it music. It's HQ, isn't it? HQ.
Yeah, HQ. And
Studios.
before we get into HQ, before on what you said, they're just coming in really late into music. I only started writing lyrics last year, I think, because my friend was like, you should try it. Obviously, big up Kieran, I'll say your name in case you're listening, innit? He told me, give it a shot, and I was like, all right, cool, try it. And then Wavy and Soft Touch, that put me in touch with Yepa and Lernski and Bav Abeo, and yeah, and I just started getting picked by VJ and all these other places to come in, so it's great, yeah, really.
And VJ is in charge of Too Funky Arts, he's the founder.
Yeah.
So you were saying, I just found that really fascinating that you guys, as a group, so you're 8 musicians, different styles.
Yeah.
I guess you're not radically different, or are you?
Well, it is an urban arts thing, so there's a lot of rap, grime. There's Prampreet who sings in Punjabi. Vishal, he I think, does he do double language stuff as well, or he's a producer as well? Lots of people, different interests. Harry Giorgio is he works as a producer for HQ, and he's been doing gigs all over. I think he's national, done supporting other acts and stuff. But there's a lot of different talented people all taking advantage of the opportunity, because it's really good to get professional help with everyone trying to do their own thing, but getting a whole band behind you as a vocalist, that's not happened to me before. I've turned up at jam nights at Pie Bar or Orange Tree or something and just had a go, but it's not the same as when you rehearse it and make it better.
Yeah, it's different performing with a band. It's you have to control how loud they play. You have to be on time with them, and it's quite a lot, but you get used to it. You work together. I was lucky enough because the band I'm working with, I worked with earlier on this year. I think it was August maybe, and we did a thing called Grime Sessions also with Too Funky, and I performed there with a live band as well, and we recorded at HQ, so it's similar, but Project Live was the step up, and that's where VJ asked me from the Grime one, come do this one, and then we came across to Project Live.
And practically, so you were saying, so the 8 of you met and you decided on the title for the song. Can you share that?
Yeah, it's called Searching. We had Ruckus from Baby People deliver a 90-minute slideshow workshop about songwriting, give us all sorts of different hints from famous songwriters, and then we only had half an hour to work. We were hoping to get more out of the session than the title, but we got the title. We've all gone away, and I think you weren't able to attend that one, but you
was ill.
You only wrote something. Yeah,
I wrote something on the bus on the way. That happens a lot. That's how most of my lyrics come about, just sitting on the bus.
Yeah, I only wrote this at 1:00 today, and then it was really great to see the band really liked my chorus that I'd written, so that became, everyone just took that on, and see Harry Giorgio is more of a proper singer than me, so to hear him singing words I just knocked up this afternoon and everyone getting on board, it was really, really exciting.
I'm fascinated by how songs come about, and the idea that the two of you basically just knocked out some lyrics this afternoon. I want to hear about that process, but before we do that, now everyone on the playlist gets to choose music here on the A Word, so you guys are kind of taking over the sound waves for the next half hour here on BBC Radio Leicester. So we're going to kick off with Tian's first choice, and that is a Jessie J track. Tell me, why did you pick Who's
Yeah, that's
Laughing
different.
Now?
People listening, when people ask me some of the songs that influenced me, people are like, really, Jesse J, you're a rapper. Like, I've heard your lyrics, Jesse J. And I'm like, yeah, but the song I chose, it's about like, it's overcoming people that put you down. So obviously that's like a guide for everyone. Like, if someone says you can't do something, I don't know if this is for everyone, but me personally, like around this time last year, actually, people was like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And now, well, I've done quite a lot in the past year, and it's just one of them where you strive more to prove other people wrong.
BBC Radio Leicester, you're listening to The A Word, and I have two wonderful musicians in the studio with me, Tian and Will. Tian, that was your song choice for the A Word playlist.
Yeah.
And you were telling me, so you're from Leicester, you're only 17.
Yeah.
But you only picked up or decided to start making music a couple of years ago.
Yeah. It was just like a joke at the back of an English class. We were sitting there and the teacher was talking and it was Shakespeare or something. And I was just sitting there, I was like, okay. And then me and my friend, like, we started joking because, quite a lot of Shakespeare rhymes. We was like, hey, every time a rhyme was about. And then he was like, have you ever tried to write lyrics? I was like, no, maybe one day. And he's like, yo, usually a lot of us do it because obviously at secondary school, it's like, you're in your racial clique, innit? So obviously the mixed race guys, they're here, innit? And we was like, oh, but we've all done it. And I was like, so I don't really care. But at this time, I had no idea what I wanted to do at all. Like last year, I was at Leicester College doing acting, which I thought was the way forward. But then I found, obviously, that people was getting interested in my music. And at the start, I thought, oh yeah, couple 100 views. I think like my first SoundCloud video got within like a day, and I was like, oh, that's probably just because people want to see how badly I did. But then obviously more and more tracks got released, and people was like, well, I can actually hear you improving. And obviously because the people are my age. And they're all like, you're improving, and they could see me improving because they're listening to this music. But then me, like, I don't like drill, mumble rap or trap, so I take heavy music inspiration from like Chipmunk and Eminem and Royce the 5'9", like heavy lyricists. So, and I enjoy writing lyrics. Like I'll sit there, like the other day actually on Halloween, me and Sly, we released a track called The Purge, which is on my SoundCloud, and what that is about, it was just, he was like, yo, come, do you want to do this? And I was like, I'll try it. And then about 10 minutes in, and I was writing this verse, and I was like, oh, that links with that. And then he was sitting there, and he's like, how have you done that? And I was like, I don't know. Because like, it's accidental, but I do it on purpose, if you know what I mean. Like, it happens too much for it to be an accident, but I don't register I'm doing it until afterwards. I'm like, wow. And I always have to explain my lyrics. But besides that, it's pretty good. I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great. And you you grew up in Braunston.
Yeah, at like the worst time that Braunston's been of recent. Like, I was the young kid that was like, oh, and like because I lived in the centre of what's called Dodge, it was like you go to the park and you either join the really bad kids or you get beat up by the really bad kids. And obviously I was smart, so I was like, well, I ain't trying to get beat up, but I had like things, and like I was telling them, well, try do this, and like they listened to me, and then like they started doing the stuff I'm saying, and like when I look back now, at the time it was funny because everyone's like, yeah, you're all cool, but then I look back, I'm like, that's really illegal and that's a problem, you shouldn't have been doing that. But I changed the way I act because my mom didn't want me to get arrested, because like my closest older, he was arrested just towards when my mum was like, okay, that's enough now. And then we moved to a further part away from Braunston, and then she got me to do some modelling thing, which was fun until I burst my eardrums because the music was too loud, and then they wanted me to act as a girl. I used to model for Next, and all this is like 8 years old. Like I was doing this thing, all my people my age called Roadman Life. I was doing that at 8, and it's not cool. Like I see it, I'm like, what was I doing? But my mum moved me, and then I got into more acting stuff, like more physical. Like year 2 was my first acting play, and from there I just took really strongly to acting. And then towards last year, when I left Lancaster, so about a year ago now, they was like, yo, your music's actually quite good. Like even the people that didn't like me in Braunston because of kind of like the time I was with, like I was with the time where all of these kids that are older than me, they was looking up to these guys, and because of the part I lived, I was like in with these guys, which isn't like a good thing. And like now, like I used that story there, I'm like, okay, to my little brother, I'm like, okay, don't do this, I did that, it's not smart, it doesn't work, do something you're good at.
So do you feel like music is taking you down a different path then?
Yeah, not even just music, like acting did it as well. Acting like helped me to more, it doesn't, like, life doesn't have to be this 9 to 5 that everyone does. Like, if you believe you can do something and you go after that thing, like, I can't remember where I read it, but it was something like, you fight for your dreams will fight for you. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, yo, that's pretty amazing.
That's a great quote. I love that quote so much.
I'll put it on a t-shirt.
You should, yeah. I think that's a really amazing quote. Will, I want to go over to you and to your song choice for the A-Word playlist. Obviously, you're known as the Poetman.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, I was started a poetry night. It was a very long title, which now I know a bit about marketing. You don't want on a poster, but it was called "Spoken Word Is Not Dead" in Glenfield in the Nag's Head. And someone recognised me when I was walking my dog. I had headphones in, and he started shouting. And all of his mates playing football, they all started shouting. And they were shouting when I took my headphones off. They were all chanting, "Poetman, Poetman." So I just went home and bought the T-shirt that I wear, which has just got a big P printed on it. And I open it up in a bit of a Clark Kent sort of moment in the shows. And I bought poetman.co.uk. And then I've just took it on. And I tell people, like, my first hour show I did in Leicester Comedy Festival, I called it "Writing Wrongs by Writing Songs." So it's sort of social commentary, storytelling, self-deprecating, sarcastic poems. A lot of people do a lot of stuff with poetry nights, and most of my experience has actually been in little pubs and trying to get people on board to the idea of poetry, which they probably didn't want. So I just use a lot of silly props, and I reward the audience for joining in, throw out little chocolates if they can guess what the rhyme's going to be.
Oh, I like it.
That really changed the way the show's going. Was this, you wanted me to tell you about the song?
No, I like it. Well, no, actually, the song that we're going to play, your song choice, it's Roy's Gang by C6 Steve.
Yeah.
And this is a song you play before your shows.
Yeah, I listen to it before I go out, whether I do like magic gigs or like juggling stuff, any sort of performance thing. I'm not that naturally extroverted, and I'm a bit of an introvert. So this song's all about giving 110%. The whole lyrics is all about going out on the road and doing shows. It's C6 Steve and his band. It just sets me in the right mindset, because it's just all about giving 100%. And he says stuff like, "Don't look at your shoes, no shoegazing." It's just all about the audience, because that's what you've got to focus on when you're on stage or performing anything. It's about them, not about you, you know.
I've got the two of you here, Will, and I've also got Tian, both musicians, part of the Project Live with Two Funky Arts, a project to essentially mentor and give you opportunities to create music in a professional environment. So you get to record your tracks in a professional studio, you're performing together. I wanted to ask you, because I think we were just chatting about this story that's in the news today, and it's about musical education, basically, and the idea that if you are from a low-income family, you're kind of being priced out of learning musical instruments. So this research by the Musicians Union found that children in low-income households were half as likely to take music lessons. I think the report suggests only 19% of children from families earning less than £28,000 learnt a musical instrument, and that's compared to 40% of those in high-earning households. Now, we know, of course, musical instruments cost a lot of money. Is this something that you have experienced, or what do you think about it?
Yeah, well, I never learnt any music at school, really. I wasn't very good at it. But then I just bought a keyboard on eBay when I was 30 years old, and I just started playing it. There's loads of YouTube videos people can watch. It's good to learn it, because it teaches you maths in a way, because you've got to count all the rhythms. It teaches you how to be creative and improvise, and it's transferable skills. And and you get better. You were talking, Tian, about how since you started making music, people noticing progression. These sort of things are really important for your sort of well-being, because if you've got a hobby that you're seeing progress and seeing getting better, that's what keeps you focused and keeps you doing something productive, you know.
Yeah, it's one of them things, like, before I go on to what you just said, it's like, it's not just music though. Like, I feel like, for obviously coming from that background, as I already mentioned, like, there's not much besides school, like, so you kind of have to either do well in school. I mean, I know I'm also a part of this thing called Changing Perceptions, where we're trying to change this vision. But for now, where it's at is people from, like, the lower class, that, like, as they're called, we see that you either do road, as they say, or you do something else, because we haven't, like, physically been taught how to do everything else. But I heard
when you say road, Tian, what do you mean?
you know, like they think the only way in life is like stealing, drug dealing and stuff. But I heard I can't remember who it was, but I heard somebody rap and they said doing that stuff is pretty much the exact same, because drug dealing, you're counting money and you're weighing up in grams, right? Music, you're counting bars and, like you said, seeing how long it is until this happens. Like even with writing lyrics, it's not just maths, it's chemistry as well. Because like I can't remember exactly what it was, but there's something about chemistry in there that I'm learning with Abeyo. But both of them things are both maths, but it's the exact same as if you was doing business about this is what you need to do, but the way we see it is different. And obviously the fact that we haven't had this,
it's a risk.
And clearly, you know, that path, the drug dealing life, it's obviously illegal, but also
dangerous,
and it
I think
takes
it was
you
like,
on a road that you probably don't want to be on.
Yeah, like I think last week or last month there was in the past week there's been like 4 stabbings or something in Nottingham, and I know 2 months ago there was more murders in London than there was in New York. Like, just putting that in perspective, that's massive, and like it doesn't need to be done, really.
I do think when there's no social mobility and it feels harder to make something of yourself, and when we've got mentoring now with this Project Live thing, and it's keeping us excited and learning things. When there's no clear path for success, it does attract people to try and take risks. This happens worldwide, and it's I do think we need to be seeking out positive things to do, because the risks are extreme and the cost to the whole society is negative. You know,
temptation.
And for you, Tian, you were saying, I guess, having something like Project Live, and you mentioned Soft Touch Arts, who are an amazing organisation that work in Leicestershire. Did that give you that sense of opportunity? Yeah,
it was, especially with Soft Touch, not the studios I use now. That's more like a, would say more like a college course, but it's not. It's just a studio time. But especially with Soft Touch was like, it was like a youth centre in a way, because if you walked into Soft Touch, you'd see kids from that exact background, obviously low income, and obviously they don't have all of this, like the stuff to say have a laptop with a Mac and Logic. But obviously Wavy and all the people that work for Soft Touch, they know this, so it's only a couple of hours a week, but they supply, I think they have 6 rooms, each with a Mac in, each with Logic, which is like the best music software, and also keyboards so you can produce, and they have mentors outside that will teach you. They have microphones, so they put on music like this, except for it's free of entry. Like, it's exactly for the kids that don't have all the instruments and stuff.
Well, there's so much to talk about. So talking about making music, this is a perfect moment, Tian, to hear some of your music. So the track we're going to play, some part of it is called Guidance. Do you want to tell us a bit about it?
Guidance is a track that me and Josh, another singer from Leicester, we worked on. We had a week with Pedestrian to do this thing called Concept, and this track we sat down for about 3 hours and just started to write to this instrumental that was made, and we came out with a really good end project. And the point of this was basically, like we've been talking about, it was finding another way, but in a rap perspective. So yeah, Guidance.
The A Word with Geeta Pendse on BBC Radio Leicester.
That was Tian there, his track Guidance. Tian, you were like singing along there, obviously, to your own song. Will, that's the first time you've heard Tian's song. What did you think of it?
Oh, I thought it was great, man. It reminded me of when I saw Akala last year at Music Cafe, because it's when it's sped up the pitch.
Yeah.
And, talking about where it's repetitive, like, are they a liar? It reminded me a lot of that.
Akala and low-key conscious artists I listen to quite a lot.
Man, it's good.
What's it like to hear your own music?
Honestly, I think it's amazing. I'm not gonna lie. When I started, I was like, oh, this is alright, but it wasn't like music I could listen to. Like, it was just me barring on without a flow with like nothing. But now it's like there's emotion in it, and it's like I can actually listen to it. And I mean, look, it's been played on radio, so
it has indeed, and that's the first time it's been heard on radio.
Yeah, it is on my SoundCloud though. So if you go to my Instagram, TM_official_Insta, click on the link, you can get the most recent stuff. And there's only been a few collabs. There's been one with Sly, one with Lynx, and obviously that one with Josh. But I'm working on some new stuff. I had to take a break because I got a load of performances between April and August. I think there was a point where from July to the end of August, I was performing every week. I did quite a few shows, and then I did a Supersonic Boom Festival. And then a couple of weeks back, I think it was like a month back, I was doing a tour of colleges, which was from, I say a tour of colleges. Some people don't like I say a tour of colleges, but I was moving around, not the whole of England, but we did Birmingham, we did Sheffield, we did Hinckley, and we did Leicester at colleges.
That's good.
And
Who's that with? Was that?
That was with African Caribbean Centre and a project they were doing called Kene. It was for Black History Month, so they just had young black artists, and there was, especially in Hinckley, a lot of people was feeling it in Hinckley. One of the dinner ladies started following me on Insta.
I love that.
It was amazing.
I guess for you as well, you know, that for any artist, but that moment where people connect to what you've written to. Yeah. And I love that there was a dinner lady in Hinckley who's like a big fan now.
Yeah, it was quite funny. She still follows me on Instagram, so if you saw this, big up Susie.
Okay, well, Will, you are going to be performing one of your tracks for us live in a few moments.
All right, great.
But before we do that, while you get ready, I want to play one of your playlist choices, and it is Ill Culinary Behaviour. Tell us about this song.
Well, you know, it's Abdominal and DJ Format. They make this song. I'm into rap like A Tribe Called Quest and bands like Jurassic 5. I was never really into gangster rap, and this was a guy doing like comedy rap. And he's got verses where he's talking about playing the role of his own mother at a dinner party, and it's just, I'd never heard any rap like it. I love it.
Will, you are now standing here in the Radio Leicester studio here on the A Word. You'll be performing for us in a moment live. We've got everything ready to go. So how do you feel before you perform?
Well, I'm always a bit nervous. I think it's natural to be. If you're not nervous, you're not risking anything. You're not doing it right, So, just try and not I'm
sorry,
nervous,
this is like the worst question to ask a performer, isn't it? How do you feel before you're about to perform live for us all? So,
well, yeah,
my apologies.
No, it is. It's all about doing it right. I'm nervous. But
you were also saying to me earlier, Will, that when you were growing up, when you were at school, you were actually quite shy and didn't necessarily connect with other people. And now you're performing to audiences. That's an incredible move, isn't it, for you?
Yeah, I think I got into poetry because it was hard, because it wasn't my skill set really. I'm quite happy on my own, not really talking to people. I'm just happy with a book, and that's why I was quite a lonely child, I guess. So, yeah, learning how to communicate, it's not come easily, but it's rewarding, isn't it? Because you need to communicate. If you've got your own personal dreams, I had all these projects in my 20s that I never finished. I was writing some science fiction dystopian thing that never finished, all sorts of stuff, and you need other people. You need to be able to communicate. And you get live feedback in the room every time. I could write a poem and try it on open mic and then see if it's any good or not. And I've just been doing that,
And before you start, what's the name of this
This song? Is called Sit Down, and I've used Skepta's sort of song Shut Down as an inspiration for it. But yeah, I do this at a grime night. It's fun.
Excellent. All right. Well, I will start the music and then over to you.
All right. I want to do shows everywhere I go, but I just don't know if I can keep this flow, because I'm getting old and I'm feeling slow, and I think I need a sit down. I need a cup of tea and a sit down. I want to do shows everywhere I go, but I just don't know if I can keep this flow. I'm getting old and I'm feeling slow, and I think I need a sit down. I need a cup of tea and a sit down. Seriously, need a sit down. 2 sugar please and a sit down. I've hurt my knee, can I sit down? Feeling old, I need a sit down. I'm feeling cold, need a sit down. I told you I need to sit down. Every day get closer to death. How many days have I got left? This ear's ringing and the other one's deaf. Come up the stairs and I'm out of breath. No chance in my life for romance, even when a girl asks me to dance. Hip starts picking and I think no chance. Look her in the eye and I say no thanks. Need a cup of tea and a sit down. Seriously, need a sit down. 2 sugar please and a sit down. Need a sit down. Feeling old, I need a sit down. I'm feeling cold, need a sit down. I've told you I need to sit down.
It's come from the ends. Minimum wage, we haven't got cents. I'm up on stage trying to make amends, but will it pay off? Though that depends. Man on a mission, trying to get into condition. Every day I've been wishing I could raise my position. Been in training, be entertaining. Looking at my bank balance, everything's failing.
Been in training to be entertaining, but looking at my bank balance, everything's failing. I need a cup of tea and a sit down. I seriously need a sit down. 2 sugars please and a sit down. Hurt my knee, can I sit down? I'm feeling old, I need to sit down. I'm feeling cold, need to sit down. I've told you I need to sit down, and now I think I will have to sit down. Thanks a lot.
That was amazing.
Got
my
there in the
God, well done.
All
Big round of applause there. So good. Oh my gosh, Will, it's really funny.
Well, I try and be funny, you know.
That is comedy rap at its finest. Yo, I hear people trying it, they're not doing it like that.
Can I use that as a poster quote? Tian says comedy rap at its finest.
Yeah,
at its finest.
TM 2K18.
Yeah. Cool,
No, but I like it because you're really sort of sending things up as well. Like the idea of, you're just a bloke with a few twinges and you're trying your best, and then you really need to sit down.
Yeah, it's just I'd gone first to do a grime song at the open mic at Music Cafe, and I took the mick out of all the grime MCs, and someone told me that's not wise, so I took the mick out myself with that song instead.
And so, Will, what are you working on at the moment then with Project Live?
Well, that song has been orchestrated. That was just a little loop that I played out to the band, and that's the loop I gave to you to play. But the band have really made it better. They've put like a little jazz section in. They've put where I'll actually be sitting down on the stage while they're playing jazz. And, because I was tethered with the loop pedal, it's like it wasn't... the band can do so much more. You can change tempo, you can change things up, you can have a lot more variety. And they've really, really orchestrated it a lot better than I could on my own.
It must be incredible when you've written it to then perform, like hear it for the first time with it. And how big are the band?
It's there's only 3. There's a bass player, a drummer, and a keyboard player. But there's a lot of variety you can get out of the keyboard. And it's going to be great on December the 6th when we perform it all. Because I still not heard Tian's work, and I've not heard everybody else's. But yeah, I've got like a reggae song, a funk song, and a grime style trap song with a jazz breakdown in it.
So that song that I played earlier on, that's not, I'm not performing that at Project Live. So if you want to see the 3 songs that I am performing at Project Live, December 6th, at Too Funky, come down. Should be free entry. Should be a good night.
Brilliant. And so I want to ask you both a question before you go.
Yeah.
So earlier in the programme, we had the charity, the Mighty Creatives, come on to chat about the work they do with young people.
Yeah.
And they've got this thing that they're on Friday, which is called Creative Heroes. Everyone has to share who their creative hero is. So I want to find out who your creative heroes are. But before you tell me, I'm going to play a song by one of my creative heroes. Well, he's on the track, and it's Pharrell Williams as part of a medley of really well-known musicians. It's Feels.
The A Word with Geeta Pendse on BBC Radio Leicester.
You're listening to the A Word here on BBC Radio Leicester, and I have had Will and Tian in the studio with me for the last half an hour, and it's been brilliant. We've had live music. You guys are both part of Project Live, which is an incredible training programme with Too Funky Arts. Now, before you go, I want to ask you a question, because earlier in the programme, we had the Mighty Creatives in on the show, and they're this incredible organisation that work with young people across the East Midlands, actually, bringing arts to them. And they are asking us all this Friday to share who our creative heroes are. And I wanted to know, who's your creative hero? Will first.
It's hard to choose. I like Tommy Cooper, I like John Cooper Clarke, but I'd have to pick Spike Milligan, because he was someone who tried to make comedy out of like his own tragedy, and he tried to be silly, and he was always an entertainer. He'd been to war and come back and just tried to he was just always funny all the time, and it's just his poetry, it's always very silly and childish, and I quite like that, to look at life in a light way. That's what his sort of whole life was about, I think. Well, that's how I remember him,
And what about you, Tian?
Okay, so I'll say like my main one of my inspirations, and also my music inspiration. So my musical inspiration is Chipmunk, just for the simple fact he was also, doing more or less the circuit I'm doing, like with Project Live as a prime example. I'm the youngest on it, and like I feel like it's great because I get to learn off these people that was doing everything before I could. So the stuff that I don't see anymore because of the internet and stuff, these people didn't have back in the day, and like all the opportunities I'm being given. So getting that knowledge is great, and obviously Chipmunk went through that as well. And just inspiration in life, we'll say, Mom, you know, I know you're listening.
Brilliant.
Just because like she used to do like wedding designs and stuff, like wedding dresses, and it was like really good art because she showed me some of the things quite like when I started doing music. She was like, I was like, should I just stay doing acting? And she was like, no, do music because you're ready for that. And I was like, okay. And she never actually went anywhere with it. And then she pushes me to go with music because it's something that I'm good at. So yeah, it's one of them inspirations.
Yeah, it sounds like she's really encouraged you then.
Yeah, highly.
And in terms of her own artwork, are you going to try and encourage her to do something with that maybe one day?
You know, trying maybe it being mentioned on radio. might push her out there.
Oh, well, thank you both so much for coming on the show and sharing your music.
Thanks for having me.
And tell me when, so you've got this big showcase where you'll be performing with 6 other artists as well,
Yep.
a
Yeah.
live band, and you'll be, as well as your own music, you'll be performing a song that you created together. So when's that?
December the 6th, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be December the 6th at Too Funky. I also have a show December 19th at The Shed under Soft Touch, as previously mentioned in the show. And next April, I have an EP coming April 18th, so stay locked.
And so that's just as you turn 18, you'll have your first EP out.
Pretty much, yeah, that was the goal.
And hey, what was that amazing quote that you shared with us? Because I think you should leave us with it earlier.
Fight for your dreams and your dreams will fight for you.
I love that so much, Tian. Thank you so much for coming on the show and good luck with the showcase.
Thanks.